prediction.
They don't. They don't even finish in the top 15 this year.
I don't think I can agree with that.
They lose 4 games or more.
Oh, what?
Yes.
No.
Watch, because again, you can't just go in and take these players and think that you're going to be able to have these players learn a whole new system with all new coaches and think that they're going to be as successful.
If Central Florida hires a coach that comes in and changes the system...
Who is their coach?
I don't remember.
Without looking it up. Exactly. That's my fucking point. You've never even heard of this guy.
I didn't say
so
that.
You're thinking that they're going to grab this system. You didn't remember who he was. I don't remember who he was. Because exactly.
I didn't remember until earlier today that Florida's head coach is fucking Dan Mullen. I know who he is.
Okay. But the problem is, again, it's implementing a brand new system. Is the talent there? Yes. Can the talent carry you in wins? Yes. But the problem is, coaching means a lot in college football because small, minor coaching mistakes can be the difference between you losing a game and you winning.
Oh, yeah. Just ask Les Miles. The guy sucks.
Yeah. But that can be all the difference in the world. And Frost is undoubtedly a solid coach to get the motivation the way he did on those players. Because no one saw that coming at UCF. We thought they were all going to have a great year. But undefeated, that was unheard of. They got robbed last year. But I do not expect them to be anywhere close to what they were last year.
I do, because I trust more so in the fact that the players are playing with each other for another year. They've lost Shaquem Griffin, they've lost Huff. That sucks. But for the most part, the team is still intact.
That's great. But now it's an intact team that has to learn somebody else's system. All within one summer. And you're asking them to operate that as a well-oiled machine. I have no problem thinking that they're going to kick the shit out of someone like UConn.
Josh Hooper is their head coach.
Who the hell is that?
He was the offensive coordinator last season for Missouri.
That doesn't make me instill confidence.
He had a quarterback that worked with him that threw for 700 yards 3 times last season.
That's wonderful.
In the SEC.
Great. How many games did Missouri win last year?
Not a whole lot.
Okay, then. He's going to double whatever he won last year in Missouri because he's playing hot garbage.
They got a much more difficult schedule this year than they did last year. So, we'll see how the shit shakes out.
Right.
But we got to continue on.
Who's
last
24?
Point. Last point. No, make
who's
your last
24?
Point. LSU. I don't know if they deserve to be that high, also based on name, but they lost to Troy last season. I don't know. LSU, they don't tickle my fancy. They're not the powerhouse that I'm used to them being. I don't think they're deserving of a top 25 spot right now.
No, but this goes back to what we were saying. The name can get you into places you don't deserve.
Right. And then number 25, Oklahoma State. Lost great quarterback and wide receiver. Probably shouldn't be ranked.
All right. Before you decide to tell me why you hate the AP, I'm going to get it off my chest. One, name recognition. I think it goes a long way. I think there's a bias between writers who believe that teams are better based on the name that they have and their preconceived notion of these teams without actually looking at the facts. Two, the other problem I have with it is at times they weigh too much on the success of last season, thinking that in that way has some relevancy to how good they're going to be this year. When some teams we don't know. For instance, prime example is Oklahoma. They get this ranking because of how well they played last year. That doesn't mean that they're not steaming shit this year. It's still a possibility that that's the way it's going to shake out because they have a lot to answer for and they lost a Heisman quarterback. But in the same time, you get teams that apparently AP recognizes it. They're like, oh, we lost Frost. You guys go all the way to the back of the line. What? There is no continuity in any of this. Nothing that you do makes any logical sense, and you might as well go back to the BCS system that the guy that made the system didn't even know what it was calculating.
That is exactly what really pisses me off about the Associated Press. Like, one thing I just don't fucking understand. The college football playoff rankings toward the end of the season, pretty fucking spot on, right?
Yeah, as it gets to the end of the season because you have all the information.
Why can't we have the same people doing those rankings? Just do it at the beginning of the year. Forget the Associated Press. Screw them. They don't know what they're talking about. They're not football guys. They're writers who watch football and maybe know a little bit of stuff. The people who do the ranking for the college football playoff are coaches, athletic directors, alumni that have played. They know what they're talking about. They're not some 82-year-old guy who's like, I remember the day that Mac Brown came to Texas. Let's put them at number 4.
But I think that's why the coaches poll means more. Because the AP poll is just it's a slop fest. And it's everyone assuming things before they even happen and paying attention to certain things that have happened in the offseason that have no variance in where these teams are going to end up. If you're going to do it objectively. Be realistic about where you're placing these teams, and then maybe I can take your poll seriously. But until then, I'm going to rely on what the people who work in this industry do for a living.
The coaches poll is also kind of tricky because when they do the coaches poll, they typically only take from the Power 5 conferences. And so you're going to have that bias there too. Whereas the college football playoff, they usually have less people, so it doesn't get as cloudy.
Yeah, it's a committee.
Right.
It's a committee, and any team that is represented on the committee has to recuse themselves in the discussion. So it's a more unbiased, fair assessment of the situation. It's definitely better than the BCS poll.
I would take BCS over AP any day.
That's fine, but that calculation was so confusing that this election process makes way more sense.
The best thing about the BCS was that it was so confusing that there was a possibility that you could not have a national champion.
Yeah.
Or have multiple national champions. Like, we were so close when Texas beat USC in the national championship that we also had, who was it? Shit, I don't remember. But Texas almost wasn't the national champion.
Wasn't it Auburn?
Auburn, yes.
Yeah.
Auburn was almost a national champion despite not even playing in the national championship game, which they called the Rose Bowl the national championship game.
Yeah.
So, anyways, that's my hatred for the AP. So, Pac-12.
Let's break it down quick.
I
don't have much to say.
Pac-12 divided into 2 divisions, North and South. Last season, North Division, Stanford won the North Division with 7-2 in conference, 9-5 overall. Washington, which had a higher ranking, better overall record, came in second in the North with 7-2, 10-3 overall. Washington State 6-3 in conference, 9-4 overall. Oregon 4-5 in conference, 7-6 overall. Cal 3-7 in conference. 2-7 in conference, 5-7 overall. That means all of their losses came in conference because they probably played shit.
Yeah, well, that's what a lot of teams go to nowadays.
And then Oregon State, the laughingstock of the Pac-12, finished with an 0-9 record, 1-11 overall. Then you go to the South Division, and it's completely different. USC 8-1 in conference, 11-3 overall. Arizona State 6-3 in conference, 7-6 overall. Arizona 5-4 in conference, 7-6 overall. UCLA 4-5 in conference, 6-7 overall. Utah 3-6 in conference, 7-6 overall. Colorado 2-7 in conference, 5-7 overall. The worst team in the South had 4 more wins than the worst team in the North. Pac-12, 30 players drafted. Some of the notable players: Sam Darnold, Josh Rosen, Vita V, Ronald Jones, Dante Pettis, Dan O'Shea, your boy Royce Freeman, and Luke Falk, all drafted. Key returning players. Well, actually, there's a new face in the Pac-12. His name is Herm Edwards, head coach at Arizona State. Key returning players: Bryce Love, running back from Stanford; Khalil Tate, the transcendent quarterback from Arizona. Transcendent, not my word. It's a word I read about him that I disagree with. But he's the transcendent quarterback for Arizona. Myles Gaskin. Do you remember Myles?
I do.
Same name, not the same person.
Right. Yeah.
We had a friend named Myles Gaskin. He's a running back at Washington. Jake Browning, quarterback at Washington. And then a guy who his name doesn't match up with his production. His name is So-So Jamabo.
It's a pretty sweet name.
He's not so-so. He's very good. So, in my opinion, this list has 3 legitimate Heisman contenders in Gaskin, Tate, and Love. Jake Browning, I went back and forth on, but I just feel like as a quarterback, he's not going to have the same effect that Gaskin, Tate, and Love would. Some of the games to watch: Stanford versus San Diego State. It's going to be fun. Colorado State. Always love the rivalries. Washington versus Auburn. If Washington can get past that game, I can see them getting past anyone in the Pac-12. North Carolina versus California. UCLA versus Oklahoma. And Colorado versus Nebraska. So, I have a bit of a bold prediction. My prediction: Washington beats Arizona State in the Pac-12 championship game.
Oh,
It's pretty bold.
oh.
Yep.
That is bold.
Both teams finished second in the in their divisions last season, so I don't think it's as bold.
Arizona State's only returning 11 players.
I get
That's
that.
half of their roster.
I get that. But
And they have a new coach.
yeah, but that new coach is Herm Edwards.
Adorable. Lovie Smith is on the Illini. Doesn't make him any better.
Yeah, but Lovie Smith wasn't that good of a coach. Anyways,
Argument can be made.
Lovie
Smith got to a Super Bowl.
That is your benchmark right now?
I mean,
Oh, man.
it happened.
What are your guys' thoughts?
I don't know how the hell you don't consider Stanford.
It's not that I don't consider Stanford. It's I think Washington's better.
Okay. I'm saying Stanford.
Stanford wins it?
Yep.
I'm going to say Stanford over USC.
Stanford over USC? Really?
Yes.
You think USC is going to be
Oh,
that good?
God. I think USC wins
I
like
think-
5 games.
Nah, first off, that division I don't think is very good. That part of the division. The Pac-10 or 12 South,
Right.
I don't think they're very strong. Utah might out-edge them, but I don't have a lot of faith in anyone in the South right now. I think Herm Edwards is going to be good, but I think it's going to take a little bit of time for him to rebuild the same way it's going to take Chip Kelly time to rebuild in UCLA.
Perhaps. But I think Washington, in my opinion, is the team to beat in the Pac-12.
I think it is, but I think Stanford is going to have some upsets, and particularly one against Washington that will separate them from Washington.
Okay.
And Bryce Love is an animal.
He should have won the Heisman last year.
He's probably going to win it this year. He's my favorite right now.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, definitely. Definitely is. Dan O'Shea, Pac-12, who do you think wins it?
You got to give it to Washington. As much as I wish it were Oregon, they're just in such a transitionary period. I like Stanford, but the Huskies held opposing teams to 16.1 points a game, and they've got almost their entire secondary back, which was could have been a contender for the best in the entire NCAA. They still have to work on the passing game, so I don't know that they'll break into a playoff spot. But I think they're head and shoulders above the rest of the competition. After that, probably Stanford. I think Oregon is going to bounce back a little bit. New coaching I like. A lot of really good recruiting I've seen so far. So there's definitely hope for my Ducks. but this year's going to be a little bit of a down year with I think Washington